On that note, the next day I awoke to the sound of Hagana knocking on my door. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of World End Economica, and there's hope. We finally reached the inevitable conclusion to the premise where the main character finally manages to ask Hagana for help, and it's going to be solve everybody's problems as well. Let's see how this goes anyway, shall we? Teach me what comes next. Hagana spoke while holding a terminal and looking at me standing at the door. While Lisa made breakfast, I answered Hagana's unending stream of questions, occasionally getting disorientated. There were plenty of things I only faintly remembered, or had just heard somewhere and learned briefly. Hagana seemed to believe that any new vocabulary might be a hint. She was constantly questioning and entering things into a terminal. Deriving a proper solution required proper assumptions. Hagana's way of thinking was very mathematical. I have one last question. When those words came out of Hagana's mouth, I was slumped, exhausted in the chair and facing the ceiling. Let's say I can work with a way to predict the future using maths. Sure. And what would Haru do? It was a pretty cutting question, but not one I hadn't thought about. If you find a perfect solution, I'm useless to you after all. But right now, we have 40 days of trading. I doubt you'll suddenly come up with the answer tomorrow, so until you find it, I'll probably be of use. You'll tell me how you think the stock price will move in the future, using your maths? In my own way, I'll make decisions based on my method that has been making money for me. We both think it's going to work. Doesn't that sound strong? Of course, if you later come up with a perfect solution. I hunched my shoulders and joked. And why don't you manage my money? I don't believe that Hagana would suddenly find the ultimate answer to something that people have searched for over 100 years. But I think she might get some place that was good enough, and that good enough should be able to bring in an amazing amount of profit. Plus, with just winning this contest, it would be a great boon to his church, Hagana herself, and myself too. Hagana's black and frighteningly intelligent eyes looked at me and blinked. Then, shifting her gaze quickly, she spoke. Got it. Which part? Both. Hagana answered him and drank the coffee that Lisa made for breakfast. Long and cold. I'll predict using maths. You're going to decide using your own way. If I'm right, I'll increase Haru's monetary worth. Exactly. When I laughed, Hagana huffed through her nose. It wasn't that she was angry, she just had that disagreeable part to her, so she probably just didn't feel like laughing out of politeness. But a contest comes first. We've got to win this. Yeah. If we don't start today, we won't be able to use for full 40 days. Today I'll just trade on my own. Is that okay with you? I don't mind, but... What? If I have a question, can I ask? It was a surprisingly meek way of asking. Even though she's still glaring at me as she always did, there was something different about it. Huh? When I applied with that, Hagana followed her brows angrily and spoke. When you're in front of a computer, you don't look like you listen to people talking. And I also really hate having someone bother me when I'm thinking, so I'm asking if I can still ask. Very stupid. It seemed like she was about to add familiar words to the end of her sentence. Instead, I just smiled naturally. For Hagana to be worried about something like that, it was like a miracle. Yeah, it's probably fine. Probably. Her face darkened more as she asked. I spoke in a bit of a mean tone. If you get close the wrong way, my hand might move on its own. I swung my arm in the air. Hagana apparently recalled when she accidentally hit Lisa in the face yesterday. She made a really disgusted face, but her stubbornness quickly returned. When that happens, I'll hit back. Yeah, the shin you kicked is still swollen. Ooh, that was a bit of a jerky manoeuvre. Hagana winced and looked like she was about to cry for an instant. The way she would do things and then regret them later, Hagana was definitely like a kid when it came to anything but studying. So, when you get in my attention, use something other than your feet. She gave me a hard glare before nodding slowly. Got it. Great. It's about time to trade. I went back to facing the screen while Hagana sat on the other side of the table looking at me. Hey, you want to watch the trading? She hesitated a bit, but nodded. When I'd looked around on the net beforehand, I learned one thing. The investment contest virtual marketplace had a number of strange stock symbols. For example, the names range from things you could more or less guess what they did, like pharma products or material industries, to simply symbols like A, B and C. On the net there are plenty of theories, from them not finishing the contest in time, to how there must be a reason things were named that way. Also, information that would be written from one stock often wasn't written from another. The stocks that I looked through weren't those strange stocks, but the ones that seemed to be copying stocks that actually existed. It seemed that everyone else is choosing trade on the more approachable stocks. It was lively trading at vague volume of stocks with familiar symbols. The instant I began to trade, I opened a number of browser windows. While gazing at the price movements, I kept switching windows until my eyes started to ache. I wasn't grasping those movements precisely, but when I tracked multiple prices at the same time, I could start to see a kind of pattern. This stock moved quickly, this one reacted slowly, was reacting into exchange rate or moving with the index. I started to see these kinds of little quirks. What I latched onto the most was a stock that moved with the indices. Even in this fictitious market, just like the real ones, there were indices prepared but that you get a feel for general market sentiment. For example, in the real world, amongst the stocks shown on the Lunar Stock Exchange's quotes, a core 150 would be chosen. Their prices average into what was called the Lunar Stock Exchange Price Index. Like the FTSE 100 and things like that. Makes sense. So when you know the FTSE is high, you know, generally people are buying stocks for more money. When it's dropping, you know that confidence is waning. This expressed the overall price movement of the market. It was an important reference for stock trading. In a fictitious market, an average of the most important stocks was taken and updated in real time. The stock I found was a simple one that chased after the index, when the index would go up or down. I had no idea who was doing it, but it was probably a pattern where someone traded on the index, using some information, and everyone else noticed it and followed. That stock was a fictitious bank, and its fictitious accounts were extraordinarily good. It's quite grandiose to say it, but it felt like that price had gone up too far. Essentially, it was becoming a struggle between the guys who think the price will drop, and the ones who think the price will keep rising. And that kind of struggle had a bit of a complicated system around it. In stocks, you could trade with the cash you have, or you could trade on credit, buying a margin, or short selling stocks. For example, if you bought a margin, you'd borrow money and trade for more than you're worth. If you only had 100 moles, you could borrow 200 and buy 300 moles worth of stock. If any of that stock went up by 10%, you'd get 30 moles in profit. At the end of a trade, you just return the 200 moles borrowed. That would mean if you earned 3 times the profit, compared to just using 100. Of course, if you lose, it's the reverse. There's also a way to sell on credit, so you didn't borrow money, but borrowed stocks. For example, you'd borrow some stocks and sell them for 100 moles. Afterwards, when the stock dropped to 70, you bought it back. Once you did that, you returned the shares you borrowed. In your hands fell a spread between 100 and from selling the stock, and the 70 you spent from buying it back. Using this method of short selling, you could profit even if the prices were dropping. Of course, if the price went up, you'd have to buy it back at a higher price and you'd lose. The amount of margin buying and short selling was normally shown publicly. If everyone thought a stock would go up, then the margin buying would increase, whereas the opposite case, short selling would increase. On top of that, margin buyers would eventually need to sell, and short sellers would eventually need to buy. Plus, in life, borrowing came with interest. Money or stocks, it didn't matter. Thanks to that, if a stock had been sold short a ton, already at a steady price for a long time, then the people being burned by interest would have to buy shares back in the near future. There would be a chance the stock would go up. That's how you'd think about things. The stock I'd found had quite a bit of volume, both on margin and short selling. It was probably because the price moved violently. Relatively speaking, there were about double the number of short sellers as margin buyers. So there were more people praying that the stock would go down. In most cases, betting the crowd was how you lost. The reason was because the ones who had already sold short had put their trade out for the world to see. Their opponents were looking back before deciding. The guy who moved last in rock, paper, scissors would win. Even looking at the trading record from yesterday or the day before, the fact that daily trading volume was increasing was a good indicator. It reeked of everyone getting together and plotting their way to ruin the days of the short sellers. The more short sellers there were, the more stocks would have to be bought when the price rose to a dangerous point. And when the price went through the roof, the slower the short sellers were at buying back their shares. And thus the greater the damage. All of them would start buying and the price would explode. This was a situation called a short squeeze, but no one knew when it would happen, nor whether it would happen. The fact that a short interest in piling up meant that the stock was being bought for that much, and the buyers might be running out of money. If people weren't trading on the possibility of a short squeeze, then the stock price would naturally decrease. When it fell, the margin buyers would get afraid of losses and start selling. When that happens, it plummeted even further. The further it drops, the more timid the buyers got. The end result, the short sellers would win. Ultimately, I thought the stocks of this kind had a mental battle. Information about a company was important, of course, but I felt it was about deciding in the midst of a market sentiment whether the bulls or the bears were strong. For those guys who'd buy a stock and hold it for 5 to 10 years, I think it was a good look at the performance of a company. But even if you did that, it'd take 10 years to finally have a stock price increase 5 to 10 times. Meanwhile, if you just build up 1% profits every day, in 10 years it'd be an amazing amount. If I was going to fulfill my dreams of gathering riches to the moon, this was the only way. I latched onto a stock and read the market sentiment. The sellers were in the lead, looking at the board where buy-sell orders are posted. There were a number of large ones on the selling side. Because the sell orders came up on top of the board, and the buy orders appeared on the bottom, it felt top-heavy as if it was being forced downwards. Even now, the price looked like it would collapse, but it didn't. It just wouldn't go down. They were probably false orders. The orders were displayed on the board, even though there was no real intention of completing them. The orders were placed to put pressure on everyone. When there was a huge number of orders on the selling side, anyone would think the stock was about to go down. So the sales had started happening, and the price would start going down as expected. It was ostensibly illegal, but there was no way to prove it. Because they could just say they'd changed their minds or cancelled their orders. But if someone with a lot of capital managed to see through that trick, and kept staring at the stock, might have been staring in it for 2 hours, and right before 12:10, at a point where it felt like the lowest price of a stock, slowly declining stock, I bought. That 1,000 shares at 267 moles, a bit under 27,000. It seemed like a lot, but compared to all the available capital, it was a tiny thing. It wasn't so much aimed at making money, but more like buying just a check. A while later, the morning trading ended. However, I didn't take a break. I had to check the movements of other stocks that I'd earmarked. Holding a mouse, I opened another window. It was then my eyesight suddenly shook, and my body felt caught in an earthquake. What? Apparently someone was shaking me by the shoulders. Are you doing that on purpose? Next to me, Hagana had an extremely suspicious look. You could almost say she looked worried. I looked at Hagana for a while, and shook my head to the side. Nah. Did you call me a few times? I did. You weren't even blinking. I'd thought you'd passed out. Oh, that explains why my eyes were dry. I closed my eyes and gave a bit of a big stretch. Popping sounds came from my back and neck. So? So, what's happening? Why are we staring at the same screen? We're both peering at the laptop screen together, and Hagana was very close. Moreover, Hagana apparently had a habit of putting her face close when she was being serious. Hagana's scent wafted over in time of movements, and I pulled back hurriedly. It was something like Lisa's, but an altogether different sweet scent. And I had a feeling it was something I shouldn't be inhaling. Especially when I was in the midst of trading, when I had to be alert. I have to explain everything? Please. I told her to speak plainly when she was asking for favours. To Hagana's direct words, I gave in and explained my decision criteria as best I could remember. Partway through, it didn't look like there'd be enough time, so warming up the pilaf from a lunar Chinese restaurant, when Lisa worked, I ate and explained. In general, Hagana's face was frowning, not because she didn't understand my explanation, but more because she didn't know how to express it numerically. Plus, there was a more direct issue. So what is this sentiment thing? I don't get it at all. Sentiments, well, the whole... What do you use to determine it? Well, for example, trade volume, info about the company, and the sentiment. Oh. She gave an exasperated look at my circular explanation. If I could explain it properly, I would. But if I manage to explain it, and you finish your theory, then you won't need me, right? That's true. So yeah, since it's like that, until you don't need me, can't I be the only one to understand it? That was a pretty cheap reason. and Hagana's face made it obvious that she thought so too. However, I wasn't trying to hide it on purpose, and it seemed like she understood at least that much. Sighing, I quickly moved spoonfuls of pilaf to my mouth. If you lost in that trade just now, would that mean your thinking was wrong? Well, in the end, just look at the results. But? Hagana's question looked at the computer screen, but it wasn't showing movements. I'll probably win. Why? Sentiment. She made an angry face and glared at me while I smiled a bit. I wasn't just saying it would win out of pride. This stock just reeked of sketchiness. It was something I hadn't smelled in a while. A feeling of a big play. Now how about we run it up some more? Huh? What? Letting you use it all isn't right. I won't be able to use any. I won't use it up. And how about we each use 5 million? As I spoke, I moved my mouse about and was about to trade. Hagana was the one who stopped me. That's also not right. If my theorem is correct, I should be using more. But you don't have a theorem yet. That's why it's not fair to use it all before that happens. I won't use that much, plus there's a big spell of a big play. This will work. I'm going to add on more orders. This time, Hagana stopped me by hitting my hand. I want to explain. I can't understand if you say sentiment. That was when I got angry and raised my voice. Oh, shut up. I said this is going to work. Based on what? Gut feel. Hey, before you start questioning my decisions, why don't you first finish your theorem? The two of us banging foreheads and glaring at each other. Suddenly, Hagana's eyes shifted to the window. When I followed suit, my eyes met those of Chris outside the window. She'd probably come in the middle of a delivery. She had a fist clutched to her chest. Her eyes were glued to us as she was watching a sports match or something. When Chris's eyes met mine and Hagana's, she shrank back reflexively. Our eyes locked for a few seconds. She turned around suddenly and ran as fast as she could. Her face was bright red. It was obvious what kind of misunderstanding she was having. Oh my. Let's see if we can solve this misunderstanding next episode, shall we? Well, as ever, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the episode and the series as a whole, actually. Have a wonderful day. My name has been Fuds. Bye-bye.